We live in a world that's just full of challenges, moments of doubt. But what if the solutions to our most modern problems were actually hiding in plain sight, in ancient wisdom? In this explainer, we're going to dig into one of history's most powerful texts to uncover 3 timeless paths to finding freedom from fear.
Have you ever been there? Staring down a decision that left you completely frozen, where every option feels wrong, and the weight of it all just makes you want to stop, to just give up. It's a feeling we all know.
And that's exactly where our story kicks off today. We're on the epic battlefield of Kurukshetra. From the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata, a warrior prince, Arjuna, is ready for the fight of his life. But instead of feeling courageous, he's hit with a crisis that shakes him to his very core.
See, for Arjuna, the real war wasn't the one happening out on the field. It was the one raging inside his own mind, his own heart, a battlefield within.
So imagine this. Arjuna looks across the battlefield, and he sees his family, his cousins, his uncles, his beloved teachers, all standing in the enemy ranks. And his whole world just shatters. He turns to his guide and charioteer, Krishna, and says, "I shall not fight." The bow, the very symbol of his identity, just slips right out of his hands. He's totally paralyzed.
So what is going on here? Krishna, his guide, breaks it down. He sees 3 things causing Arjuna's suffering, and they're things we can all relate to. First, delusion. Arjuna is completely confused about his duty, about what's right. Second, attachment. He can't separate his duty from his love for his family. And finally, just pure fear. He's terrified of the consequences, and it's left him powerless.
Now, here's what's so incredible. Krishna doesn't just say, "Get up and fight." No. He sees this moment of crisis as a teaching opportunity. And what follows is one of the world's greatest spiritual texts, the Bhagavad Gita, where he lays out 3 powerful paths to move beyond suffering and find true freedom.
All right, so the first path he lays out is maybe the most practical one for our day-to-day lives. It's called Karma Yoga, the path of action.
So what is Karma Yoga? Well, think of it as the art of doing your work, your duty, with your whole heart, but without getting tied up in knots about the outcome. It's about focusing on the action itself, doing it as well as you can instead of worrying about what you'll get in return.
And this famous line from the Gita just nails it. It says, "You have a right to your work, but not to the results of your work." That's a radical idea, isn't it? It means your job is the effort. The outcome, well, that's just not up to you. And accepting that, that's where the freedom from anxiety begins.
So how do you actually do this? Well, it's really 3 steps. First, figure out what your duty is. What does this moment demand of you? Second, act with excellence. Pour yourself into it, give it everything you've got. And third, here's the magic step. Renounce the outcome. Do your absolute best, and then just let it go.
Okay, but what if your problem isn't about what to do? What if it's about what you feel? Overwhelming grief or fear? For that, Krishna offers the second path, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion.
Bhakti Yoga is all about taking that powerful emotional energy we all have and transforming it. Instead of letting fear or despair run the show, you channel all of it, your love, your grief, your hope, into devotion for something bigger than yourself. You turn every action into an offering.
Look, we're emotional creatures, right? Bhakti Yoga gets that. The idea isn't to crush your feelings, but to give them a higher purpose. You redirect your personal will through faith, surrendering to a divine ideal.
And when you start to live this way, when every action becomes an act of worship, something amazing happens. It's not just about you anymore. That heavy weight of the ego, that constant worry about what's in it for me, it just lifts.
So we've covered action. We've covered emotion. What's left? The intellect, the part of us that needs to understand, that seeks truth. And for that, we have the third path, Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge.
The core idea of Jnana Yoga is pretty radical. It says that the ultimate root of all our suffering is actually just ignorance, a deep misunderstanding of who we really are. So this path is all about a journey of self-inquiry, of using wisdom to cut right through that fog of confusion.
Now, this isn't about memorizing facts or being book smart. It's a deep, transformative kind of seeing. And the Gita makes a huge promise here. It says that when you attain this true knowledge, the result isn't gradual, it's immediate. You find supreme peace. And this brings us right back to Arjuna, frozen on the battlefield. Krishna gives him a powerful metaphor. He tells him to take up the sword of wisdom. He says this is the only weapon sharp enough to cut through all the tangled knots of doubt that are paralyzing his heart.
Okay, so we've got these three huge ideas: the path of action, the path of devotion, and the path of knowledge. How in the world do they all fit together?
It's actually pretty elegant when you break it down. Think of it like this. Karma Yoga is for our hands. It's about selfless duty. Bhakti Yoga is for our heart. It's about devotion and surrender. And Jnana Yoga is for our head. It's about wisdom and self-inquiry. Head, heart, and hands. Each path addresses a key part of who we are, but they're all aiming for the same goal: freedom.
And this is so important. You don't have to choose just one. They aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they're meant to be woven together. Selfless action can become a form of devotion. Real knowledge gives you the clarity to act selflessly. They all support and enrich each other.
And this is where it all comes together for Arjuna. After hearing Krishna's teachings, something inside him just clicks. As the text beautifully puts it, his doubts are torn to shreds by wisdom. All that confusion, all that paralysis, it's gone.
The man who had collapsed in despair, his bow lying on the ground, now stands firm. He picks up his bow, ready to do what he must. But he's not driven by fear anymore. He's acting from a place of clarity, purpose, and profound inner freedom.
And so, this ancient story ends. But it leaves a question hanging in the air for all of us. In the battles of your own life, the big ones and the small ones, the ones defined by fear and doubt, which path speaks to you? Is it the path of action, the path of devotion, or the path of wisdom?